If you are over 60 and oatmeal is the breakfast you trust most, take a careful look at your bowl tomorrow morning, because one small mistake could be the reason you feel tired before lunch, become hungry only a few hours after eating, struggle with uncomfortable bloating, or wonder why your blood sugar is still difficult to manage even though you believe you are making a healthy choice. For decades, oatmeal has been recommended as a simple breakfast for the heart and digestive system. It is warm, affordable, easy to prepare, and naturally contains a type of soluble fiber known as beta-glucan. When prepared thoughtfully, oatmeal can absolutely be part of a nutritious diet. But oatmeal does not become a balanced breakfast simply because the word oats appears on the package. The type you choose, the amount you serve, the ingredients you add, and even the time you eat it can completely change how that breakfast affects your body. I'm Dr. James Carter, and today I want to show you 5 common oatmeal mistakes that many adults make after 60 without realizing it. These mistakes are often hidden inside routines that appear healthy. You may have replaced pastries with oatmeal. You may have stopped eating sugary cereal. You may even be buying a product advertised as heart healthy. Yet by the middle of the morning, you may still feel sleepy, unfocused, shaky, or ready to eat again. That does not necessarily mean oatmeal is wrong for you. It may simply mean the bowl is incomplete or poorly timed. As we grow older, the body may respond differently to large portions of carbohydrates. Muscle mass can gradually decline, digestion may become more sensitive, and blood sugar control may not be as efficient as it was years ago. This means breakfast needs to do more than provide quick energy. It should also help support muscle, maintain fullness, and provide steady nourishment throughout the morning. During this video, we will examine how hidden sugar can turn oatmeal into something closer to dessert, why eating oats without enough protein may leave you hungry, how convenience can influence the type and portion of oats you choose, and why fiber variety matters. We will also discuss one mistake that has nothing to do with sweetness or calories. It involves morning medication. Depending on the specific medicine you take, eating a high-fiber breakfast immediately afterward may not match the instructions you were given. Never change your medication routine on your own, but do not assume that every pill, supplement, cup of coffee, and bowl of oatmeal should be taken together. We will return to that important issue later. First, we need to examine the mistake hiding in many oatmeal bowls right now. It begins with ingredients that look harmless on their own, but when combined, can transform a simple breakfast into one of the sweetest meals of the day. The first mistake is not eating oatmeal. It is adding so many sweet ingredients that the oatmeal begins to behave more like a dessert than a balanced breakfast. Most people do not intentionally prepare a bowl filled with sugar. The problem usually develops one small addition at a time. It may begin with a flavored packet labeled maple, apple cinnamon, or brown sugar. Then you add a spoonful of honey because honey feels more natural than ordinary sugar. Next comes sweetened almond milk, a flavored coffee creamer, a large banana, and perhaps a handful of raisins or dried cranberries. Every ingredient seems reasonable by itself, but together they may create a large amount of rapidly available carbohydrate in a single meal. This is especially easy to overlook with dried fruit. Removing water makes fruit smaller and more concentrated, so a handful of raisins can contain far more fruit than most people would normally eat fresh. Honey, maple syrup, dates, and brown sugar may come from different sources, but they still contribute sugar to the same bowl. For some adults, a very sweet breakfast may be followed by a rapid increase in blood glucose and then a noticeable decline later in the morning. That change may feel like fatigue, difficulty concentrating, irritability, hunger, or a strong desire for another sweet food. Consider Linda Reynolds, a fictional 71-year-old retired teacher. Linda believed she had improved her diet when she replaced toast and jam with oatmeal. Each morning, however, she used a flavored packet, stirred in honey, added sweetened vanilla milk, and covered the bowl with dried cranberries. By 10:30, she was usually searching for crackers or cookies. The oatmeal itself was not the main problem. Her breakfast contained several sources of sweetness, but very little to slow the meal down or keep her satisfied. Linda did not need to abandon oatmeal. She needed to simplify it. She switched to plain rolled oats and used cinnamon, a small portion of blueberries, and a few slices of apple for flavor. Instead of adding several sweet toppings at once, she chose one source of fruit and allowed the natural taste of the oats to remain. A helpful habit is to examine everything entering the bowl, not just the oatmeal package. Ask yourself whether you are combining a sweetened oatmeal packet with sweetened milk, syrup, dried fruit, and a large serving of fresh fruit. A topping does not have to be unhealthy on its own to become excessive when combined with 4 other sweet ingredients. This does not mean oatmeal must be bland. Cinnamon, nutmeg, fresh berries, sliced apple, or a modest portion of banana can provide flavor without turning breakfast into a sugar-heavy meal. The goal is not to remove every gram of sugar from your life. The goal is to stop allowing multiple sweeteners to quietly accumulate in a food you selected because you believed it was healthy. Remember this simple principle. Healthy-looking ingredients do not automatically create a balanced bowl when too many concentrated sources of sweetness are added together. But removing excess sugar is only the first step. Even a completely plain bowl of oatmeal may still leave you tired and hungry if it is missing 2 important nutritional anchors. That is where the second mistake begins. If you remove the excess sugar from your oatmeal, you have already taken an important step. But many people are surprised to discover that a plain bowl of oatmeal can still leave them feeling hungry long before lunch. The reason often has very little to do with willpower. It has much more to do with balance. One of the biggest misunderstandings I hear from adults over 60 is this. Dr. Carter, I thought eating as simply as possible was the healthiest option. Sometimes that simplicity becomes the problem. A bowl containing only oats and water certainly provides fiber and valuable nutrients. But for many older adults, it may not provide enough protein or healthy fat to become a complete breakfast. Think about what happens during the rest of your morning. Perhaps you eat breakfast at 7 o'clock. Everything feels fine for the first hour. Then, around 10 o'clock, you notice your stomach beginning to growl. Your energy starts to fade, you lose concentration, and suddenly almost any snack looks appealing. Many people blame themselves. They assume they lack discipline. In reality, their breakfast may simply have been incomplete. As we age, maintaining muscle becomes increasingly important. Muscle supports strength, balance, mobility, and independence. Protein plays an important role in maintaining that muscle, which is why many healthcare professionals encourage older adults to include a quality protein source throughout the day, including breakfast when appropriate for their individual needs. Protein also helps make a meal more satisfying. When protein is combined with carbohydrates and fiber, many people experience steadier energy and remain full longer than they would after eating carbohydrates alone. Healthy fats can contribute in a similar way. They slow the overall pace of the meal and often make breakfast feel more satisfying without requiring a much larger portion. Let me introduce another fictional example. Thomas Bennett is a 68-year-old retired engineer who wanted to improve his eating habits after his annual physical. Every morning he prepared the same breakfast. Half a cup of plain oats cooked in water. Nothing else. Thomas believed the fewer ingredients he used, the healthier the meal became. Yet nearly every day he found himself standing in front of the kitchen cabinet before lunchtime, looking for crackers, cereal, or anything else to stop his hunger. When we reviewed his breakfast together, the oats were not the issue. The bowl simply lacked enough staying power. Instead of replacing oatmeal, Thomas rebuilt it. He stirred plain Greek yogurt into the oats after cooking to increase the protein. On other mornings, he enjoyed a boiled egg alongside his breakfast instead. He sprinkled a small amount of chopped walnuts over the oats and added cinnamon for flavor. These changes did not transform oatmeal into a complicated recipe. They simply created a breakfast that offered more than carbohydrates alone. Now, it is important to remember that nutrition is never one size fits all. Protein needs vary depending on age, activity level, medical conditions, and guidance from your healthcare provider. Some individuals, including those with certain kidney conditions, may receive personalized recommendations that differ from general advice. The goal is not to chase the highest protein number possible. The goal is to create a breakfast that supports your body instead of leaving it searching for more food only a short time later. A useful way to think about oatmeal is this. Oats provide the foundation. Protein gives the meal structure. Healthy fat adds stability. Remove the foundation and there is no breakfast. But without the structure and stability, the foundation may not accomplish everything you expect. Once people understand this, many of them immediately ask another question. If oatmeal is only part of the equation, am I even buying the right kind of oats? That question brings us to the third mistake. Walk through the breakfast aisle of almost any grocery store and you will find dozens of different oatmeal products. Instant oatmeal, quick oats, old-fashioned rolled oats, steel-cut oats, organic oats, flavored cups, single-serving packets. From the outside, they all appear to promise the same thing, a healthy breakfast. But they are not all designed in exactly the same way. One mistake many adults make is assuming that every oatmeal product provides the same eating experience simply because the word oats appears on the label. The reality is a little more complicated. Steel-cut oats are cut into smaller pieces while remaining relatively intact. Rolled oats are steamed and flattened, making them quicker to prepare. Instant oats are processed further, so they soften very quickly with hot water. None of these products are automatically good or bad. Each one has advantages depending on your lifestyle, chewing ability, cooking time, and personal preference. The problem usually begins when convenience encourages us to stop paying attention to everything else. Take another fictional example. George Whitman is a 73-year-old widower who wanted a breakfast requiring almost no preparation. Every morning he emptied 2 flavored instant oatmeal packets into a bowl because one packet never seemed filling enough. Then he added honey and a whole banana before heading out for the day. George believed he was eating an excellent breakfast because oatmeal had such a healthy reputation. But his meal combined several things at once: a large portion, multiple sweeteners, very little protein, almost no healthy fat. When he felt hungry again before lunchtime, he assumed something was wrong with his metabolism. In reality, it was his breakfast that needed another look. Instead of telling George to stop eating oatmeal, we discussed ways to make convenience work for him rather than against him. Most mornings he switched to plain old-fashioned rolled oats. On weekends he prepared several portions in advance, so breakfast during the week required only a quick reheating. When he needed something even faster, he chose plain instant oats instead of flavored packets and built the bowl himself. That gave him much greater control over what actually entered the bowl. There is another point that deserves attention. Portion size. Many people carefully examine sugar and fiber while completely ignoring the amount they serve. A bowl that quietly grows larger over the years may contain far more calories and carbohydrates than the person realizes. Large bowls, oversized mugs, and generous handfuls make it surprisingly easy to prepare much more oatmeal than originally intended. This does not mean everyone should eat the same serving size. Your appetite, physical activity, body size, and medical history all influence what is appropriate for you. The important lesson is to become aware of the portion rather than allowing the bowl to decide for you. Convenience itself is not the enemy. In fact, convenient meals often help people stay consistent with healthy habits. The real question is whether convenience has also encouraged you to stop noticing the ingredients, the portion size, and the nutritional balance of your breakfast. Choose the oatmeal that fits your lifestyle. Then build the meal with intention, because even the best bowl of oats cannot perform at its best if the rest of the breakfast is working against it. So far, we have focused on what goes into your bowl. The next mistake has nothing to do with ingredients at all. Instead, it has everything to do with timing. And if you take medication before breakfast, the next section may be the most important part of this entire discussion. Until now, we've focused on what goes into your oatmeal bowl. Now I'd like you to think about something completely different. What happens before you even take your first bite? For millions of older adults, the morning begins almost the same way. The alarm goes off, a glass of water, 1 or more prescription medications, a cup of coffee, then breakfast. It feels organized. It feels responsible. And for many people, it has become such an automatic routine that they rarely stop to ask an important question. Is this actually the best order for my medication? This is where I want to be especially careful. I am not telling you to change your medication schedule. I am not telling you to stop eating oatmeal. And I am certainly not suggesting that oatmeal is dangerous. What I am saying is that different medications come with different instructions, and those instructions matter. Some medications are designed to be taken with food. Others work best on an empty stomach. Some need time before breakfast. Others may have specific recommendations about calcium, iron, coffee, supplements, or high-fiber foods. That is why one morning routine does not fit everyone. Oatmeal contains soluble fiber, which is one of the reasons it is often recommended as part of a heart-healthy eating pattern. But fiber can also influence how quickly certain substances move through the digestive system. And for some medications, following the timing instructions exactly is important for proper absorption. Notice what I did not say. I did not say oatmeal prevents medications from working. I did not say everyone must wait the same amount of time before breakfast. The correct timing depends entirely on the medication you are taking and the instructions provided by your healthcare team. Let me introduce another fictional example. Edward Lawson is a 76-year-old retired accountant who prided himself on never missing a dose of his medication. Every morning followed the exact same pattern. He swallowed his medications, took his daily supplements, poured a large cup of coffee, and sat down with a bowl of oatmeal less than 10 minutes later. He assumed that because every item in his routine was healthy on its own, combining them all together must also be the healthiest approach. During a routine appointment, Edward mentioned his morning schedule while reviewing his medications. Rather than making changes himself, he asked his pharmacist whether the timing matched the recommendations for each prescription. To his surprise, a few adjustments were suggested. One medication was meant to be taken on an empty stomach. Another supplement was better separated from certain foods. Nothing dramatic changed about his breakfast. He still enjoyed oatmeal. He simply gave each medication the conditions it needed to work as intended. That conversation taught him something many people never realize. Sometimes the healthiest habit is not adding another supplement or buying another expensive food. Sometimes it is simply following the instructions already attached to the medicine you take every day. If you take prescription medication each morning, consider asking 3 simple questions during your next visit with your doctor or pharmacist. Should this medication be taken with food or without food? Should I wait before eating breakfast? Are there any foods, supplements, or drinks that should be separated from this medication? Those questions take less than a minute to ask. The answers may give you much greater confidence that both your medication and your breakfast are supporting your health instead of unintentionally working against each other. Once medication timing is understood, there is only one mistake left. Ironically, it affects many people who are trying the hardest to eat healthy. It is the belief that eating the exact same oatmeal breakfast every single morning is automatically the best choice. Healthy routines are powerful. They remove unnecessary decisions, make good habits easier to maintain, and help many people stay consistent for years. But consistency and variety are not opposites. In fact, your body often benefits from both. One of the most common habits I see among adults over 60 is finding one breakfast they enjoy and repeating it every single day without changing anything. The same oats, the same toppings, the same portion, week after week, month after month. At first glance, this sounds like an excellent habit, and oatmeal can absolutely remain part of a healthy routine. The problem is believing that one food, no matter how nutritious, can provide everything your body needs. Oats are an excellent source of soluble fiber. They also provide important vitamins, minerals, and plant compounds. But your digestive system benefits from a much wider variety of foods than oatmeal alone. Different fruits provide different antioxidants. Different seeds contribute different nutrients. Nuts offer healthy fats and minerals. Vegetables contain their own unique combinations of vitamins and plant compounds. No single breakfast can deliver all of them. There is another point that deserves attention. Sometimes people become so enthusiastic about adding healthy ingredients that they unintentionally overwhelm their digestive system. A large serving of oats, 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, ground flaxseed, wheat bran, several kinds of fruit, a handful of nuts, all in one bowl. Each ingredient may be nutritious. Together, however, they may provide much more fiber than your digestive system is accustomed to handling in one meal. For some individuals, increasing fiber too quickly may contribute to gas, bloating, or digestive discomfort. That is why gradual changes are often easier to tolerate than dramatic overnight changes. Let's look at one final fictional example. Patricia Moore is a 69-year-old grandmother who loved learning about nutrition. Every week she discovered another superfood to mix into her breakfast. Before long, her oatmeal contained oats, chia seeds, flaxseed, wheat bran, walnuts, dried fruit, fresh fruit, protein powder, and several nutritional supplements. She believed more healthy ingredients had to produce a healthier meal. Instead, she often felt uncomfortably full and complained that breakfast left her stomach feeling unsettled. Rather than removing oatmeal completely, Patricia simplified her routine. She chose 1 or 2 toppings instead of 6. She rotated different fruits throughout the week. Some mornings she added walnuts. Other mornings she used ground flaxseed. Occasionally she enjoyed berries instead of banana. And once or twice each week, she skipped oatmeal altogether and prepared eggs with vegetables or plain yogurt with fresh fruit and nuts instead. Those small changes gave her meals greater variety without making nutrition complicated. I like to compare weekly eating habits to building a personal library. Imagine every nutritious food as a different book. Oatmeal may be one excellent book, filled with valuable information. But no matter how good that book is, it cannot contain every lesson you will ever need. The strongest library is not built from one title repeated hundreds of times. It is built from many good books working together. Nutrition works in much the same way. A healthy eating pattern is usually created over days and weeks, not by expecting one breakfast to accomplish everything. By now, we've covered the 5 most common oatmeal mistakes I see among older adults. But knowing what to avoid is only half the story. The next step is learning how to build a simple oatmeal breakfast that is balanced, satisfying, practical, and easy to repeat without making your mornings complicated. Let's bring everything together. Now that we've worked through the 5 most common oatmeal mistakes, you may be wondering what your breakfast should actually look like tomorrow morning. The good news is that you do not need an expensive meal plan. You do not need a shelf full of supplements. And you certainly do not need to stop eating oatmeal if you enjoy it. In fact, the biggest lesson from today's discussion is that oatmeal was never the real problem. The details were: the type of oats, the ingredients mixed into the bowl, the balance between carbohydrates, protein, and healthy fat, the portion you serve, the variety in your weekly meals, and for those who take prescription medication, making sure breakfast fits the instructions provided by your healthcare team. When those details come together, oatmeal can become exactly what many people hoped it would be: a warm, satisfying breakfast that fits comfortably into a healthy lifestyle. So let me leave you with a simple framework that is easy to remember. First, begin with a plain foundation whenever possible. Old-fashioned rolled oats are an excellent everyday choice for many people because they provide a balance between convenience and texture. Steel-cut oats are another nutritious option if you enjoy preparing them in advance. And if your schedule is busy, plain instant oats can still be a practical solution. The important point is not choosing the most expensive package on the shelf. It is choosing a product that allows you to control what goes into your breakfast. Next, think about what will make the meal complete. Ask yourself a simple question: where is my protein? For some people, that may be plain Greek yogurt stirred into the oats after cooking. Others may prefer a boiled egg served on the side. Some may enjoy cottage cheese or another protein source that fits their dietary needs and personal preferences. You do not need a complicated recipe. You simply want to avoid building an entire breakfast around carbohydrates alone. Then consider adding a modest amount of healthy fat, a small handful of walnuts, a spoonful of ground flaxseed, a sprinkle of chia seeds, or a little almond butter. Notice the word modest. More is not always better. The purpose is to create balance, not to overload the bowl with ingredients. After that, add flavor in a way that allows the oatmeal itself to remain the star of the meal. Fresh blueberries, sliced strawberries, a few pieces of apple, a little cinnamon or nutmeg. These simple additions can provide wonderful flavor without relying on several concentrated sources of sweetness at the same time. As you build your breakfast, pay attention to your portion as well. A serving that matches your appetite and nutritional needs is often more satisfying than a bowl that gradually becomes larger simply because it has become part of your routine. If you take medication in the morning, continue following the instructions given by your doctor or pharmacist. If you are unsure whether your breakfast timing is appropriate, ask. One short conversation can provide far more confidence than guessing. There is one final thought I would like to leave with you. Nutrition is not about finding one perfect food. It is about creating consistent patterns that support your health over time. Many people spend years searching for a miracle ingredient, a special powder, an expensive supplement, a newly discovered superfood. But healthy aging is rarely built that way. It is usually the result of ordinary habits repeated with care. Choosing a balanced breakfast, eating a variety of nutritious foods throughout the week, staying physically active within your abilities, getting enough sleep, managing stress, following your treatment plan, and making small improvements whenever you learn something new. Those habits may not sound exciting, but they are often far more powerful than chasing the latest nutrition trend. If there is one message I hope you remember from today's video, it is this: do not judge your breakfast by one ingredient. Judge it by the balance of the entire meal. A bowl of oatmeal is neither a miracle food nor a mistake waiting to happen. It is simply a starting point. The choices you make after that are what shape the final result. I hope today's discussion has helped you look at your breakfast in a new way, not with fear, but with greater understanding. Because when you understand why you are making a change, healthy habits become much easier to maintain. If you found this video helpful, I'd love to know how you usually prepare your oatmeal. Do you prefer rolled oats, steel-cut oats, or instant oats? What toppings do you enjoy most? Share your routine in the comments below. Your ideas may help someone else discover a healthier way to begin their morning. And if you know a friend or family member who eats oatmeal almost every day, consider sharing this video with them. Sometimes a small adjustment to one daily habit can make a meaningful difference over time. If you enjoy evidence-based discussions about healthy aging, nutrition, and practical lifestyle habits for adults over 60, be sure to subscribe and join me for future videos. As always, remember that this video is intended for educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for personalized medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have questions about your diet, medications, blood sugar, or any medical condition, please speak with your physician, registered dietitian, or pharmacist before making significant changes to your routine. Thank you for spending your time with me today. I'm Dr. James Carter. Take care of yourself, stay curious, and remember that healthy aging is built one thoughtful choice at a time. I'll see you in the next video.